Hi, this is Sensei James Leonelli from Sensei's Weekly Mindset, and I'm here to talk to you about betonline.net. Betonline.net is your #1 source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, soccer, and esports. Don't forget my personal favorite, MMA. We've got it all on betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, we can help you find those on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. And don't forget BetOnline for NHL, boxing, golf, and like I said, my personal favorite, the sport of MMA. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Life isn't always easy, and you don't have to face it alone. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of needs. To get started, you simply answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's most convenient for you. The best part is, if your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price, all from the comfort at home. To start your journey and to get 10% off of your first month, go to betterhelp.com/sensei. That's betterhelp.com/sensei. BetterHelp, you deserve to be happy. Hi guys, Sensei James Leonelli here to talk to you about another one of our sponsors, LMNT. An electrolyte drink mix. Each one of these little packets gives you exactly what you need to keep you as hydrated as all us athletes like to be. If you're like me, you work out a lot, and when you work out a lot, you also sweat a lot. Now, when we sweat, we don't lose just water, of course. We also sweat out salt. We sweat out electrolytes. So each one of these packets contains 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, giving you everything that you need in order to maintain optimal hydration and nothing that you don't. So to go online, place an order for your sample pack, and to get yourself a bonus free sample pack, you're going to go to this website right here, elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. You're going to see this down in the video below, but I'll say it one more time for you. elementallabs.refr.cc/James Leonelli. Again, it's a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing that you don't. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Sensei's Weekly Mindset. I'm Sensei James Leonelli, owner and head instructor of Tiger Schulman's here in Smithtown. Once again, I am back in my home recording space, ready to give you guys this week's food for thought. As we do, I'm wearing a little bit of the 40th anniversary collection. Again, this is one of my favorite shirts the Tigers ever produced. I love anything with nostalgia and history, and this particular shirt's got a great picture on the back of it of Tiger and Shihan Schulman. And it's from back in the karate days in the 70s. It's a really awesome picture. A part of a really awesome collection, the 40th anniversary collection, which among others can be found on tigear.com, tigear.com. So check it out, get yours, right, and get a whole bunch of the other stuff that's there as well. So as we get going today, just a quick look at what's ahead on the horizon. Number one, we've started a busier time of year in my school. Number one, back to school. But also, as we get back to school, we also start ramping up for tournament training, right? As our tournament is coming up in December. And with that, we have to do the training for it. We have to do registration for it. We have to do judge training and all of that. So we're ramping up in that regard. We're ramping up in that many of the kids who are gone for the summer are now back, or kids who went on vacation at the tail end of summer, they're back. Same thing with adults as well. So classes are filling right back up. All right, so it's definitely a busier time of year around the school. And then on top of that, around the 28th, the next Flex Fights is coming up. It's right in the backyard of my school at the Selden Firehouse. It's going to be an awesome card, Firefight 2. And we have some great amateur fights and a bunch of pro fights too, including a now pro rematch of an awesome amateur fight from a number of years ago, Ryan Jarina and Devin Worth. So it's a really, really interesting fight in and of itself. And then we have the other pro fights that are going to be there, and all the amateur fights that are going to be there. And there's plenty. Big card and everything like that. Like I said, right around the horizon. And Flex Fights bouncing off of another card that was on the 30th. So you can imagine we had some pro fights in August, early August. Then they had a fight card in August, and now more pro fights in September. So pro fights are always a little bit more homework. They're always a little bit more behind the scenes. New York State's got some more hoops that we have to jump through and so forth. And then there's all the amateur fights, not to mention everything else that goes into a fight card. So all that's going on, all while I'm, awaiting my fight card and so forth, and I'm finally able to get it and everything. And leading into all that, with everything going on with my school and everything else, I found myself feeling very, very busy, super busy. Like, man, I have so much stuff to do. I have so much stuff I have to get done. And I found myself in a place that I don't like to be mentally. And it was funny because I found myself in this place, and I'm like, man, I know I've done an episode on this in the past, and what a better time to revisit it, this thought process, than now. So where it really crept up on me, where I noticed it, was yesterday. And it's funny because when I thought about it, and I stepped back and thought about the mindset and why I wanted to fix it and everything, what I realized is actually I've kind of been feeling that mindset for quite a while, a couple of days, maybe a week or two. And as such, really found myself kind of on my back foot and say, oh, I got to do something about that. So I found myself yesterday, Mrs. Sensei had left the house, and I was like, all right, so, I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I have to do this. So I'm taking class at 11 today. So if I'm going to go and train, then I have to do my cold plunge first, and I have to pack my bag for training, make sure my shaker cup is ready for recovery, make sure I got everything to shower afterwards and all of that. I have to make sure afterwards I'm going to run this errand, and then after that, before that, I have to do this, and then at some point for my school today, I have to do my lesson plans. And I found myself very much in the have to mindset, all the things I have to do. And I was like, wait a second. I stepped back for a second, and I was like, wait a minute. I get to cold plunge, right? I have a setup and everything like that to make it very, very, difficult for me, to make it convenient for me, but also make that challenge, that difficulty right there in my face. I don't have to worry about like, oh, I got to go get ice from the store and all that. I got the chiller, I got my setup, it's right there. And I'm lucky to have that. And it's a voluntary hardship I'm putting myself through that has physiological benefits. I always feel better. I feel more awake when I get out of it. My body feels better because I've been training for so long. Every day I wake up sore because I train every day. And every time you do some kind of muscular thing every day, you're going to be sore. Why would you not be, right? So I feel physiologically better. And it's a hardship I get to do to myself, which I like. And it's to my benefit mentally and physically. I know that. So I get to do that. I don't have to. And then I go to train, and I love to train. And like once I get to the class, I'm good. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying myself. So I get to take class. All right. And then after that, do I have to run the errand? Yeah, but I get to run the errand for my business. That is my dream job. That is me getting to work in my hobby, which is something not everybody gets to do. Right? A lot of people run errands just for their home, or just for their loved ones, or just for their responsibilities, and not for a job that they love. Or even if they have a work thing errand they have to run, it's not for their dream job. It's not for their business. So I get to do that. And yeah, oh man, I got to sit down and do my lesson plans for the week. Yeah, I get to do that because that is very, very much something I enjoy to do. I enjoy watching how people respond to the lesson plans. So nonetheless, this have to versus get to mindset. Big dichotomy in mindset, big time. because of the fact that we know that there are so many things in life that are requirements, things we have to do, right? That are a responsibility as a human being, right? Things you have to do to function. Have to sleep, have to eat, have to shower, right? And have to do all these basic maintenance things. However, even those things that are the basic maintenance things you need to do as a human being, those are things you get to do, right? You live in a place where you get to sleep peacefully because you don't have to worry about shelter. You don't have to worry about what's going on around you. You don't have to worry about if it's going to start raining or the weather or whatever. You don't have to worry about the conditions around you. Right? You get to sleep in a comfortable bed in a warm home, right? Same thing with I have to eat. You get to eat. You don't have to worry about where your next meal comes from. It's there, right? You don't have to go hunting or gathering for it. It's right there for you, right? Or you're just gonna go get it. So either way, like you get to do these things, right? You get to shower in a nice warm shower, right? And it's got the right nice little jets and everything like that. And you have your shampoo and your conditioner and your body wash that you want. Whereas other people in different places in the world don't have that. Right? We think about places right now, like think about the wars going on in the world. There are people who don't get to put their head comfortably in a pillow because maybe they're a soldier serving in that war. Or maybe worse yet, maybe their home area is the war zone and they can't sleep peacefully because Lord knows what's going to happen overnight. Right? Maybe their running water is cut off and they don't get to shower. And maybe as such, their next meal is not as guaranteed as ours is. And that's the thing. Sometimes as human beings, and because I know how it happened to me, and I know other human beings are like me in this regard, in that the more things we have going on, right, when things get busy, we start to think more in a checklist kind of way than an appreciation kind of way, which is very backwards, obviously, right? Yes, we want to get the stuff done. That's very important to get our stuff done, right? Like, I'm not going to say that I don't use checklists. I'm not going to say that I don't calendar myself stuff out, because I do. Of course I do. But more importantly, as I'm looking out at these things, as I'm writing these things down, and I'm making sure I get them done, I have to appreciate the fact that I have the freedom to get these things done, that I have the ability to do these things, that I have the life, the type of life that affords me the opportunity to do these things on a regular basis, right? There are plenty of people who are not able-bodied enough to train, right? Who would love to do mixed martial arts of any kind, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, anything. And maybe their lifestyle doesn't afford them that opportunity. Perhaps, they're not in a situation where they have access to coaching, right? They may live in an area where there's no schools, right? That exists, right? Or they may be physiologically unable to, right? Maybe they don't have the physical ability to, and so on and so on and so on, right? And to look at it as I have to, ooh, that is a very, very negative connotation, because I definitely get to, right? There were times in my life where I couldn't train as much as I wanted to, for sure. And as a result, sometimes when you go from one side of that coin to the other, where you weren't putting your work in like you really wanted to, now, all of a sudden, when the opportunity comes around to do so more often, now all of a sudden it shifts pretty dramatically to that get-to mindset, or to that have-to mindset, right? Very much holds true to someone who never exercised really in their life, but then starts to take it seriously. And then when they take their exercise seriously, they might look at it as a have-to. And it's funny, in certain regards, I do as well, right? Because in certain regards, it is a have-to, right? We know that for proper maintenance of our body and of our mind, that exercise is a requirement. However, we can't ever lose sight of the fact that despite the fact that we have to, we also get to, right? The things go hand in hand. Because as much as you have to for your mind and your body go and train, you get to go and train, right? I see it quite often when I have my students who weren't physically active before they came and trained, right? They get very addicted to it very, very quickly. And the benefits stop just the physiological, and they start to be much more psychological, right? like I have one of my most diehard adult students I'm thinking of. And it's funny, Steve, he was on the podcast many years ago. It was one of my first interviews back when I did the interviews all the time. And when he talks about training, he trains so much because for him, it's a vacation. It really is a way to step away from the world at large, to not worry about everything else, to calm his mind, right? He works a job where he is a very important person in the company that he works for. And, he makes some very big decisions for some very big companies. And as a result, that's stressful, right? He's got kids at home, and one of his youngest is now in college. But of course, having all his kids all abroad, that is in and of itself its own stress, where, I know one of his daughters got married. So of course, just because they're married doesn't mean you stop worrying about them, doesn't mean you stop thinking about them. So he's worried about her, and I know he's got a son as well and his youngest daughter, and they're all spread out now. In one way, I'd have to imagine that's even more stressful than having them in the house. As much as in the house, having them there, you would want to, it would be its own type of stress, because having kids in the house is a type of stress. Having them all spread out where you can't have your eyes on them, that's got to be its own type of stress too. So he's got all these stressors in his mind. And yeah, for him, being active, training, physically, very important, but psychologically, very important as well. He has to for his physical, but he also, and for his mental, but he also gets to. Right? He has a place, he has a lifestyle that affords him the ability to be able to train as much as he wants to. Right? And that's the thing, right? As much as some of the things that I'm talking about and the examples that I'm giving you are requirements for life, they're things that you just do because they're a requirement for physical and mental, and your physical and mental well-being. As much as they are like that, they're also very much they're something that we have to appreciate as well. Because yes, we have to do them. But like the examples that I gave you before, not everybody gets to, right? Everybody has to, but not everybody gets to, right? You think very, very much, right? Flip your focus from yourself. Put the focus on somebody else, right? You think about a child, right? And there's certain things that a child has to do for their health. They have to sleep consistently. They need enough sleep in order to be a healthy kid and an agreeable kid. They need to eat nutritiously, right? They need to have parental guidance and support. They need to have a place where they feel at home and feel comfortable, right? They need physical and sociological outlets. They need places where they feel like they belong. They need places to outlet that energy, right? Among a great many other things. The list goes on and on and on of what kids need. And when you think about how many kids there are in the world who exist as part of the foster care system, who exist in orphanages, or exist with parents who are, for one reason or another, unable to give them those things. Maybe they're a kid who may wind up in the foster system, right? Like I'm sure we can all think of an example of someone somewhere in our circle who as an adult needs help of some kind, right? Physiological, psychological, maybe substance, right? Whatever the case may be. And who do we feel for the most in those situations? We don't necessarily feel for the adult as much as we feel for the child, because the child needs all those things and are unable to get those things themselves. So they are reliant on another person. So as much as every child has to brush their teeth, they need, in order to do that, a place to do that, right? They need the running water. They need the adult to make sure that they're doing it. They need all those other things behind it in order to be able to get to do that, right? When you take a step back and you look at that giant to-do list that you have, or you look at all the things that are looming for you to accomplish, for you to check off your list, all the things you've got to schedule your way into your day, there aren't very many of them that every human being on earth gets to do without an afterthought. And sometimes as humans, we get so mired in the moment, we get so caught up in that moment, in what we're doing, that we forget how important it is to have a bit of gratitude for everything that we have in our lives, right? Just like that person, to go back a few examples, who's living in the war zone now, will be so thankful when that war is over and they're in a place where their water is running and they don't have to worry about what's going to go on while they sleep, and so on and so forth. We also know how long that trauma can affect them, how long that trauma will have physiological side effects because of the psychological trauma. But we also know how much more they will appreciate everything they have once they have it, right? It's kind of funny to take a human angle away from this and instead put it in a cuter and possibly funnier way to think about it. I look at my two German Shepherds, Onyx and Slade. And Onyx began her life as part of a backyard breeding operation. She spent the first several months of her life chained to a post in somebody's backyard, and her sole purpose was to be bred so that someone would be able to breed German Shepherds. And eventually, she broke free of that post and wandered through the woods for no one's really sure exactly how long, until eventually, after several days astray, never knowing where her next meal is coming from, so forth, she wanders out and she is found on the side of the road by a veterinarian, Dr. Doles. And Dr. Doles happens to work with this charity, and this charity is how we wound up with Onyx. And Onyx, because she's used to because she had a portion of her life where there was human cruelty, because she went through a period of her life where she did not know when her next meal was coming or where it was coming from or what she was going to eat. She didn't always have love and affection and kindness and all of that. That she's a very different personality than Slade, right? Slade, we got when he was 7 weeks old. We got him from a breeder. So the breeder treated him with nothing but love. He always had his consistent meals. As soon as he left her, he came to us, where he had love and companionship and Onyx, and he had nothing but human kindness, and he had a home and food and warmth and comfort. Onyx will make herself uncomfortable in order to be closer to us, because we are her sources of stability and kindness in her life, right? It's more important to her to be close to us than it is to be comfortable. When it comes to dinner time, food time, there is no distracting her. She is very food motivated. She won't leave her bowl until it's done, unless she can go steal a little bit of Slade's food. On the flip side, Slade is very much the opposite. Slade has never known a moment of discomfort or human unkindness. If I raise my voice to Slade, he cowers like I'm going to beat him. If I grab him by the scruff on the back of his collar, he yipes like a little puppy, like you would imagine I was beating him. Right? And all I'm doing is grabbing him by that loose skin. When it comes to mealtime, if he hears somebody coming down the stairs, he's got to go see who's coming down the stairs. He'll walk away. He doesn't think anything of it, because there's always just food in his bowl when mommy and daddy call him. There's just food there, right? He will choose comfort over companionship because we're always there for him. We've always been. He'll always get more love, right? And that dichotomy of personalities is because of which one appreciates, right? Onyx didn't always get to. So her life and her mindset is a little bit different than Slade, who's always gotten to. Right? So a silly example with the dogs nonetheless, but I think it helps you understand and encapsulate why it's so important to step back sometimes, smell the roses, and appreciate what you have and what you get to do on a daily basis. And every time you find yourself mired in how difficult things are, and you get lost in that, and you find yourself going through your mental checklist, I have to, take a deep breath. Step back and appreciate the fact that you get to. Where all those things you're complaining about, there are plenty of people who'd love to be able to do them, but aren't able to, for whatever reason. Right? Maybe not in your neighborhood, maybe not, whatever. But when you realize there are plenty of human beings who would love to have what you have, but don't, it makes you a little more appreciative. And it reminds you that as much as these things might be a pain sometimes, that you get to do them. You don't necessarily have to. Or maybe even if you do have to, you still get to, right? Where others may not. So that's all I have for you guys this week. As always, you can reach me via email, senseileonelli@gmail.com. On Facebook, I'm Sensei James Leonelli. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Sensei_Leonelli. You can find my school online. We're at tsmasmithtown.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/TigerSchulmanSmithtown. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at tsmma_Smithtown. Find out more about the Tiger Schulman's organization as a whole at tsk.com. You can find the podcast at Sensei's Weekly Mindset on Instagram. On my Linktree, you can find everywhere I'm on the internet. You can find our sponsor information, sponsorship opportunities still available. There you can find everything about Tiger Schulman's, about my school, and of course about Flex Fights. And again, Flex Fights coming up on the 28th, Firefight 2. We will be on Fubo Sports in addition to our normal Throwdown TV. So make sure you guys get there, watch. If you guys are on the island, get your tickets. This event will sell out without a question. So go to flexfights.com for tickets. You can find all that information in my Linktree. Other than that, guys, make sure you guys leave a rate and review. Just helps. Make sure you subscribe. Get your new episodes every Wednesday. But most important thing you can do for me, guys, I very much appreciate when I hear you do it, is share the podcast. The more that you guys do that, the more it spreads the word. It is the only form of advertising that I have. So I very much appreciate it when I see you doing it. So until next time, my friends, invest in yourselves. I'll see you guys on the mat.